Hey Jim. Obviously you guys got Darius Slay and everything. How big a matchup is this for him Sunday against the Cowboys with their three wide receivers and obviously without telling us the whole game plan. I mean, how do you plan to use them?
Well, yeah, how we're going to use them, I guess we'll find out on Sunday. So will the Cowboys. So don't want to delve too much into that. I would say this that they do have multiple playmakers on the outside. It's not just about taking one guy away. And particularly when their quarterback was healthy, that was a very, very lethal combination, and not just Gallup and Lamb and Amari, but even the other guys, all those guys were productive when they got in there. 85, 11, Wilson and Noah, those guys all made plays, and it's going to be a group effort getting those guys stopped. It's not a game where you just take one guy away and you're gonna limit them. So I think that is an important part of it. They are explosive. They're productive at all those positions, and it's going to take a group effort.
EJ and then Les.
Hey Jim, you guys use Alex Singleton like in a blitzing role a couple of times against the Giants. How does he do in that role, and then how is he doing just in general?
Yeah, he's continued to make plays for us. It started with that 49ers game. We was able to get some playing time, and he's gotten a little bit more in each game. I don't know that we actually called blitzes for him. It was just sort of when he was in the game, we were sort of rotating our guys through, and the situation called for it. He made the most of it. That was big play in the game. Pressuring the quarterback, getting that holding penalty. It's one thing just to get a hit on the quarterback. It's another thing to cause an incomplete pass, but it's not quite as good as a sack, but a forced holding penalty is big. And Alex has made a lot of plays. Hasn't played perfect, but has contributed and has made some big plays for our defense.
Go ahead, Les, and then John.
Hi, Jim. The 80-yard run by Jones the other night. This is the sort of thing we've seen a few times. Again, the running backs didn't kill you, but the quarterback ran 80 yards. What has to happen to stop that sort of thing or limit it more than you've been doing?
Yeah, you're right on that. It's been rare that people have methodically driven the ball on us. It's been more perimeter oriented. It's been more reverse. A quarterback loose play, maybe even a quarterback scramble, in some of those a zone read type play. Those are plays that just stretch your whole defense. Whether it's a reverse or a quarterback play like that. And every single person along the front needs to be right, and one person out of their gap, it can really, really look bad. Where a lot of inside runs, one guy out of his gap, you got a linebacker that overlaps it or a safety that overlaps it, and it's a gain of 5, and you guys don't even really notice. Just puts more emphasis on just being stone cold on the outside part of the field. It's just the way offenses are now. That's been a layer to the run game that 10 years ago, 5 years ago wasn't as big. You might get a reverse in the game, but you didn't have all those different things. And I would even include outlet passes like the RPO outlet passes. I mean, it's basically a run also. It forces you to defend the entire width of the field. And, that play wasn't our best. I mean, we didn't come back on the quarterback the way that we should have on that. And then the defense I was in, we were half field on the other side, and it sort of wasted our middle of the field safety that can get that ball down because he wasn't a middle of the field safety. Roby was trying his best to hold guys off just to buy us some time to get there, but there was nobody there to get there. So that certainly wasn't our best play. But I think it remains if we can eliminate those plays. We can make it hard for people to drive the ball. I thought the only team that really consistently drove the ball on us was the Rams. Well, I guess the Steelers also, But those 2 games, the other games, it's been big plays, whether it's been run or pass, that have got those put them in scoring range. I think this Giants game, they really had one series that they drove and scored on. The other one was a 1-play drive, and the other one was set up by an 80-yard run by the quarterback.
John, and then Dave.
Hey, Jim. Good morning. In your history as a defensive coordinator, when you come into a game where they're having issues at the quarterback position, they could be down to number 3. They have a lot of issues on the offensive line. Just from a human nature standpoint, do you have to do anything different to make sure your guys are saying just, 100% rivalry game, that kind of thing? Do you have to do more to motivate them?
No, I mean, we're always up for the Cowboys. Really doesn't matter who's out there, quarterback. We'll be ready to go. They have enough playmakers without the quarterback, even considering a quarterback, that's going to keep our full attention. When you're talking about those receivers we just talked about, they got a good tight end group. Obviously, Elliott back there, even Pollard, those guys can all make plays. And they're not going to change their offensive game plan, whether it's Dalton or Ben in there at quarterback.
Dave, and then Jeff.
Jim, you guys had a ton of injuries at defensive tackle last year, and now you have a couple there already this season. What's the plan? I mean, do you have enough players to fill out that rotation right now?
Yeah, well, we'll see where Malik gets to bouncing back. It's just too early to tell, but, we're disappointed to lose Ridge. Ridgeway was having a very good season. He wasn't playing a ton of snaps because of the other guys we had there, but he was very, very productive player. And he was a little different style than some of the other guys, and he was hard to handle in there. So we're going to have some other guys, step up into those roles. T.Y. has played a couple games for us this year and has given us some quality snaps, but we'll just see where we get to on Sunday with the rest of those guys. But, obviously it's an important position for us. It'll probably put more snaps on, guys like Fletch or Hargrave or, Malik when he gets back healthy. But us, we like to spread those reps around and keep guys as fresh as we can. So, it'll definitely be something we'll be looking at and trying to find the best way forward with that.
Jeff, and then Ed.
Jim, we saw some pretty good moves out of Derek Barnett this past week, and quite frankly, for most of the season, one of the big talking points with him early on was getting more than just that outside speed rush. What have you seen out of him in terms of those second and third moves?
Yeah, well, the inside spin was obviously effective for him in this game. Got a sack on it and got some pressures also. And it's just a good complementary move. We've talked a lot about Sweat and his repeatable motion and things like that. I think one of the things with Derek that, that Matt and Wash have done a really good job with is his repertoire is sort of down a little bit. I mean, down in numbers. He doesn't need a whole lot. He's got an edge move. He's got a speed to power move. And he's strong with his speed to power. Derek's not the biggest guy in the world, but he does have good speed to power. And then he sets that up with an inside move. And you really don't need a whole lot else. And he's been closing ground. He hasn't been wasting a lot of time in his pass rush. He's been closing ground where in the past he was probably foot faking a little too much and not putting the pressure on those guys. And I think also Derek's success has a lot to do with the other guys. We're getting good rotation in there. They're all productive when they're in there, whether it's Sweat, whether it's BG, whether it's him, Vinny, G. All those guys have been productive in those roles. And we always look at our guys as what's the production of the group, not an individual production. But I agree with your assessment. I think Derek's he really has taken a steady, missed most of training camp with an injury and sort of started slow. But we're seeing the player that that we expect with him, and he's been productive for us on the field. Always plays hard, always plays tough. That's a given. But I think that that move and limiting some of his other moves has been productive for him.
Go ahead, Ed, and then Tim.
Hi, Jim. Regarding the quarterback situation, there's a good body of work you can look at from Andy Dalton, obviously being a veteran. But how do you prepare for a rookie like Ben DiNucci who doesn't have that body of work? Do you go back even and look at maybe his tape from JMU, or how do you approach preparation for someone like that?
Yeah, we were on that tape yesterday. Watching watching some of his college film, just getting a feel more for him as an athlete and some of the throws that he made and things like that. Anybody that makes an NFL team is good enough to play. So I think you start there. That's going to get your respect right away. You're good enough to make a 53-man roster. That deserves our respect. Just watching him run some zone read stuff when he was at JMU. Our scouting staff has really helped us, that way. Our scout Jim Ward has watched him since he was at Pitt. Actually, saw him when he was a high school player, and just that, those kind of inputs and that kind of perspective helps us. You're right. Dalton does have a good body of work, but we'll be ready. Whoever's out there at quarterback.
We'll wrap it up with Tim, Zach, and then Bo.
Jim, Fletcher Cox has 1.5 sacks so far this year. He's on pace for about 3.5. What are you seeing on tape out of him? What do you need from him for this defense to be at its optimal?
Yeah, sacks obviously are the thing that everybody's judged on. But again, we judge our guys on what the group's doing. A lot of times you can have a great rush and it gets somebody else a sack, or it gets a pressure, they throw incomplete. I think of the screenplay that Fletch and Duke sniffed out, and we got a tackle for like -5 or something. Well, when you're playing the game as a play caller, what's the difference between 5-yard loss when it comes to a screen, or 5-yard loss when it comes to a sack, or even a TFL? They all count the same. It's all lost yardage play for the offense, and they lost it down. So we'll keep our eyes on things like that. I think that obviously he caused a fumble in that game. That was a huge play. We didn't score off of it, but I thought that was a huge play. In that 2-minute drive, we were able to get the ball back. Looked like they might have a chance to score before the half, and Fletch was able to get that ball back. I think it's always you can never look at any one stat and say whether a guy's productive or not. I think it's the whole body of work and the way we play our guys up front. It's the body of work of all the guys, not just one.
Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Jim, what was the plan for onvonte Maddox in this past week's game? And going forward, is the job still his if he's healthy?
Oh, yeah, he's our starting corner outside when he's healthy. He was just coming back. It was a difficult week. We started his return to play, and we didn't have any practice. So it was really hard to gauge where he was. He wasn't 100% sure. We weren't 100% sure. So he was active sort of as an emergency player. He got pressed into service on some punt return stuff. And he was doing a good job staying warm in case we needed him. And, because of some of the zones that we were playing at the end of that game, we put him in a corner. We knew he wasn't going to have to run 80 yards down the field to cover somebody, but we wanted him in there. And he was, he had felt good enough on those special team snaps that kept himself warm. So he was trending the right way. It looks like he's definitely trending to being able to get back in there. But, I thought Roby did a good job subbing in there. Vontae's an outside corner for us, and it'll be good to get him back out there.
Go ahead, Bo.
Jim, what is an NFL Sunday like for you when you had the day off? Were you watching the Cowboys game yesterday? And if so, what do you watch when you watch a game live?
Yeah, there are never days off for us. We were in here at work, getting ready for the Cowboys, and I did have the game on. We have multiple screens in our office, so one game was on the live game, and then I was watching cut-ups on the other one. So every time there was a commercial, somebody else might be going out to get a snack or hit the restroom or grab a beer. But that's when we flipped over and looked at plays from their previous game. I think that we do look at a lot of game tape and things like that. But sometimes a live game copy gives you a different perspective. You can just sort of feel the flow of the game a little bit more. And I thought that was obvious when you were watching that Washington-Dallas game. But yeah, days off aren't exactly on our calendar.